Hello, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Nate the effing Great, and this is going to be This Week in Wrestling. And honestly, you guys, I would have loved to have played the theme music that we normally play, but the thing is, this calls for a very special theme music for this week's edition. And there's only one song and one artist that I could think of to really kick this off and get the ball rolling.
Hello, I am Elias, and you're gonna remember this forever. I was born a drifter, and my highway is the sky. Pittsburgh to Philly, Chicago to LA, Portland, San Diego, down to Santa Fe, Hartford to Albany, couldn't get much worse. Every time I come here, it feels like I've been cursed. Minneapolis, all the way to Omaha. I can't even describe the ignorance I saw. I'm waiting for a town that's not such a disgrace. But I see so many stupid people, I wanna punch them in the face. Every city I go, it all feels the same. It's got to be the people, they're the ones to blame. Detroit to Nashville, it's an American music scene. When I look into their eyes, it makes me wanna scream. For a town that's not such a disgrace. But I see so many lost people, I wanna punch them in the face. New York, it feels like hell, and San Antonio as well. Phoenix to Seattle is where my darkest thoughts dwell. I'm waiting for a town that's not such a disgrace. Grab your cross and walk with me, or I'll punch you in the face. I'm waiting for a town that's not such a disgrace. But I see so many stupid people, I wanna punch them in the face. So I'll keep searching until I find that town. But until that day, I'll be around.
Was that necessary? Oh yes. Yes, it was. Because the song and the album Walk With Elias released this past Monday on Raw, released this past week, I should also say, and it is absolutely a wonderful, wonderful soundtrack. A lot of people say, there's some people that say it's suck, and for those I say that you do not deserve to walk with Elias. So, finally getting a chance to talk about This Week in Wrestling. Unfortunately, I didn't get a chance to watch Slammiversary that happened on Sunday, but I've heard nothing but positive reviews about it. And I also got the chance to watch Impact Wrestling for the first time last night Unfortunately, I only got to see the main event, which was Matt Sydal versus Brian Cage for the X Division Championship. It was a pretty good matchup, in all honesty. I'm still a little concerned about this whole deal with Brian Cage, but as the title basically has a motto, it's not about weight limits, it's about no limits. And honestly, Brian Cage with that motto could definitely make the X Division Championship into something that is definitely going to be can't miss. So definitely look out, guys, because Brian Cage is a machine. He's going to wreck, and he's going to destroy everybody that gets in his path. Guarantee it. All right, so let's talk about Monday Night Raw. What a show it was. And honestly, you guys, I will tell you this, that once again, I will be going through the thumbs up, thumbs down deal. Honestly, right off the bat, we started off with a 2 thumbs up deal in which they made the announcement of what is going to happen with the women's division. And on October 28th, they announced the new event called WWE Evolution, in which it's going to be the all-women's pay-per-view event. That is absolutely wonderful to hear. There's a lot of speculation as to what the announcement was going to be, whether it was going to be that event, possibly introducing the tag team titles or something else. But either way, it was absolutely wonderful to hear that. The ovation was great. Everybody in the crowd was definitely electric for it, and I myself am definitely very proud to be a part of this, because I'm looking forward to seeing how everything turns out going into WWE Evolution. And of course, they announced that the Raw, SmackDown, and NXT Women's Championships will all be on the line, as well as the finals of the Mae Young Classic will take place on October 28th at WWE Evolution. That is already a pretty stacked up card. That's absolutely great to see. And honestly, you guys, it just makes for a very, very wild and entertaining night. But of course, we continued on from that, and what do we get? Well, the Raw Tag Team titles. We got to see the B Team defending against the Deleter of Worlds. The match itself was pretty okay, a little bit better than the match that took place at Extreme Rules, in my opinion. And the finish was actually kind of out of nowhere, just like the finish at Extreme Rules. Basically, what ended up happening was that Matt Hardy hit the Twist of Fate, I believe it was on Curtis Axel, and then he hit the cover 1, 2, and then Bo Dallas broke up the pin. Bray Wyatt would go for a charging move at Bo Dallas. He would hit the turnbuckle, fall back, and hit Matt Hardy. This would allow Curtis Axel to kind of do like a crucifix pin for the 1, 2, 3. B Team retains. After the matchup, Bray and Matt were saying that their matchup, that their win was absolutely wonderful. And this allowed also Matt Hardy and Bray Wyatt to attack the B Team after the match was over. I almost could consider it a heel turn, but at the same time, a lot of people have been speculating that maybe this was just an immediate reaction for the Deleters of Worlds because they lost, and it's in a kind of embarrassing fashion. So they are sending a message to the B Team. Honestly, I'm hoping that we do get a rematch between the B Team and the Deleter of Worlds, because it doesn't seem like the story is over. Not by a long shot. We followed that up with a Sasha and Bayley segment. They recapped everything that happened the previous week, and then they basically made it seem like, oh, well, our friendship has changed a little bit now that I know that Sasha loves me, and blah, blah, blah. This definitely garnered a major thumbs down. Not to mention the random tag team match that they had, in which Sasha and Bayley defeated 2 random jobbers. Again, another thumbs down. Where they're going with the Sasha and Bayley deal, I have no idea. Maybe this is going to be a huge build-up in which Sasha is going to turn on Bayley, basically stating, oh, well, I said I loved you, but it was all a lie. I really don't love you. Something along those lines. I'm not exactly sure. But it's going to be very interesting to see what happens. And by interesting, I use that term very, very loosely, because there's so many people that are probably very numb about this and probably do not care at this point. All they wanted to see was Bayley versus Sasha, and they just have not given it to them. Well, of course, WWE is just going to prolong the inevitable, aren't they? We then follow that up with a segment that had Baron Corbin, Kevin Owens, Braun Strowman, and Jinder Mahal. Ultimately, another thumbs down segment, but there are some good things in this deal, in which Braun Strowman came out. He talked about his Money in the Bank deal, where he could indeed cash in on whoever wins, whether it was Roman Reigns, Brock Lesnar, or Bobby Lashley. And then Kevin Owens would come out and he would actually cut a bit of a very interesting promo in which he's still a bit of the heel here, but at the same time, it was one of those deals where he was talking about how his kids no longer see him as Superman anymore, how they just look at him and are almost afraid for him, basically after what happened at Extreme Rules. It's one of those things where Kevin Owens is such a genius and he's so good on the mic. I absolutely loved what he was doing. And then this would draw out Baron Corbin, who basically state that Braun Strowman would need to go through some kind of anger management process, which of course would bring out Jinder Mahal. Now, obviously, if you've been following Raw, which I'm sure very few have, this was a deal in which we capitalized on the random character change that Jinder Mahal had, where he's almost like this guru. He's like this guy who's trying to calm everybody down by doing like a deep breathing Shakti deal. And he tries to do this with Braun, and Braun says, you know what, that's not for me, but I'll show you how I get my anger out. And he kind of does the same thing, where he does like a breathe in, and then instead of Shakti, he says, get these hands. Where basically he beats up Sunil Singh as well as Jinder Mahal, and that was the end of that. Again, a very wasteful segment. It did not really do anything. Although the segment that would soon follow in the later on the show definitely did do a bit more for him. So we follow this up with Mickey versus Natalya. Thumbs up here. It was a pretty good matchup, and it definitely shows the numbers games that is eventually going to end up happening probably at SummerSlam. Alexa Bliss interfered in the matchup. Natty hits a discus clothesline, and then Mickey would capitalize when Natty gets in the ring, hitting a, I don't know if it was a super kick or if it was a roundhouse kick. It was some kind of variation of a kick, but Mickey James would pick up the victory, and that's obviously worth a thumbs up because Mickey's been losing for so long. It's nice to see a little bit of a different change of pace, but it also is going to be interesting to see how she plays in the Raw Women's Championship at SummerSlam. Alright, after that we're followed up with a Roman Reigns interview. Some people would give this a thumbs down. Honestly, I gave it a thumbs up. This was one of the better Roman Reigns promos, where he basically talks about beating Bobby Lashley and then going on to face and beat Brock Lesnar at SummerSlam. But the thing about this that made it so good was that he just showed how much he cared about the fans who booed him. He basically said, you could either, join the bandwagon or get the hell off. Or basically he just tells them, you can cheer for me or you can shut your mouths. It's one of those things where it's like, yes, this is the Roman Reigns I want to see. This is the Roman Reigns I need to have. Because the Roman Reigns who does not care about what anybody says, that's the Roman Reigns that they need to have. That's the Roman Reigns that works. Honestly, there's so much that can go on with this, and we'll talk about it later when we talk about the main event. Then we followed up with an Authors of Pain and Titus Worldwide segment. Yeah, bunch of talking and then fighting. Thumbs down. Moving along. So, we also had a backstage segment in which Stephanie McMahon is just about to leave, but then Kevin Owens, Baron Corbin are appearing, and they also run into Kurt Angle, in which Kevin Owens demands a match at SummerSlam with Braun Strowman. Now, it's not going to be any matchup, it's going to be a matchup for Braun Strowman's Money in the Bank briefcase. And he basically spelled it out all on the line. Make this a matchup in which if I win by pinfall, if I win by submission, if I win by countout, if I win by disqualification, I get that Money in the Bank briefcase. And basically Stephanie said, after everything that has transpired, I agree with what you're saying. And she says, you know what? You got your wish. So Kevin Owens versus Braun Strowman will take place at SummerSlam for that Money in the Bank briefcase. Honestly, this could be something really good. Again, another thumbs up worthy segment. Great to see. So this is where things get interesting. Not really. No, it doesn't get interesting at all. So we have Mojo Rawley defeating Breezango, and then halfway through this matchup we also get a Bobby Roode interview, which definitely deterred from the matchup and made it that much more of I don't care. Thumbs down. Did not do anything. We got a Dolph Ziggler and Drew McIntyre interview. That was actually really good. They were definitely hyping up their matchup, Drew's matchup against Finn Balor, which I might point out that I have not seen or heard anybody say that there has been another matchup where it featured Drew McIntyre versus Finn Balor. So WWE might have actually capitalized and presented this as a first time ever, an actual first time ever, in which it's the first time ever we get to see Finn Balor versus Drew McIntyre in the ring. And honestly, you guys, I gave that matchup a thumbs up. Regardless of how the ending was, it was still a good matchup. These guys played off each other well. Finn Balor brought in the speed, and Drew McIntyre brought in the brawling style. It was absolutely wonderful. Now, of course, Drew McIntyre would get disqualified after Dolph Ziggler got involved. I much rather would have seen this happen where Dolph, gets involved, but the referee doesn't see it. Drew McIntyre hits a Claymore and pins Finn Balor. I know it's kind of bad for me to say, but at the same time, it's better than what we got on Raw. Because, of course, by, Teddy Long logic, Seth Rollins would eventually come out to prevent the beatdown, and we would get a tag team matchup in which we see Finn Balor and Seth Rollins taking on Drew McIntyre and Dolph Ziggler. But honestly, still, I gave it a thumbs up. It was a good matchup. I absolutely loved it. It was very good to see these four guys in the ring, and they could do so much more if they put them all in the ring together for the Intercontinental title. Now, Seth Rollins would pick up the win by defeating Dolph Ziggler. Later on, we would get a segment with Seth Rollins, another thumbs up worthy deal in which he says that he's going to get a rematch against Dolph Ziggler at SummerSlam. That's good. But what would make this even better is if they add Drew McIntyre and Finn Balor, making it a fatal four-way. Because not only are you adding something different to this rivalry, but you are also making it more prestigious that everybody wants that title. So I am hoping that they change it to a four-way match. Odds are that's probably not going to happen, but still, it would be really good to see. We see Ember Moon taking on Liv Morgan again. Beautiful sell at the end, but this matchup it just did not do anything for me. It's like, what are they doing with Liv? What are they doing with Ember Moon? Really, nothing, I guess. So, thumbs down, unfortunately. Throughout the night, we actually got something very, very, very fun, which is almost like every single 25 minutes, I would say, is that we got to see Elias out on his chair, and he's basically talking about his record. He's talking about his album, and it's just really cool to see him just trying to promote it, and funny to see him just getting interrupted almost every time. Then at the end, it seemed like he was just about ready to sing it. I think he actually did get a chance to sing it at the very end, and then we would end up getting to the main event, which was Bobby Lashley versus Roman Reigns, and the winner would go on to face Brock Lesnar for the Universal title at SummerSlam. So everything that happened with Elias, definitely thumbs up worthy. Now, the matchup between Roman and Lashley, it was pretty good. I liked it. The finish, though, Roman Reigns wins. So it was one of those things where it was like, great matchup, but ultimately the result killed it. And if you don't believe me, I'm actually going to pull this up right now on my phone, because WWE, for one of the first few times in their entire YouTube page, I would think, they actually have a video that is so hated by the fans that I don't think I can really think of a single video that has gotten so much hate, so many dislikes than what took place on Raw. Because a lot of people knew what was going to happen, and unfortunately, it did happen. Roman Reigns defeated Bobby Lashley, so Roman's going to be fighting off against Brock Lesnar at SummerSlam for the third time this year. So I'm actually I need to pull this up. Okay, so this video, where it's entitled Roman Reigns and Bobby Lashley Battle for SummerSlam Opportunity, garnering 1.4 million views so far as I'm recording right now. It has gotten 35,000 likes and 40,000 dislikes. What does that tell you, WWE? What does that tell you? That every single time you think you have Roman over, you don't. He is one of those guys I am a fan of when they book him properly. But they have not booked him properly for such a long time. Ever since, I would say, WrestleMania 31, they continue to mishandle him. They continue to misbook him. They continue to misuse him. They just continue to really just not do anything well with him. I never thought I would say this, but on yesterday's podcast, I showed my large hate for the fact that Jesse Eisenberg is Lex Luthor. I expressed how much I hate that Jared Leto is the Joker. I expressed so much hate at the fact that I watched Truth or Dare, and it was so bad. I could continue every single day to express my hate for Matthew Broderick as a character. If I don't see his face, if I don't see him in a live action deal, that's great. He was Simba in The Lion King. That's fine. He was the shoemaker in the Thief and the Cobbler. That was fine. At least I didn't see his face. If there was anything that I hate more than all that, it's the fact that they misuse Roman Reigns, and they continue to book him against Brock Lesnar, and it may as well be the same result that we've seen the last few times, and that is Brock Lesnar defeats Roman Reigns and proves absolutely nothing. They should have had Roman win the belt the latest at the Greatest Royal Rumble. But they didn't. They decided to carry this out, prolong it, and make it so stupid. Because what did Roman really do? He faced Samoa Joe. He shouldn't have won. He faced Jinder Mahal. He shouldn't have won. He faced Bobby Lashley. He lost at Extreme Rules, and then he won on Raw. That should have been the only time that he won if I was booking this. Have him lose to Joe. Have him lose to Jinder. Have him lose to Lashley. Have him just slowly become so angry and so pissed off that we see this ruthless, aggressive side of Roman. He starts breaking out new moves. He doesn't just resort to the Superman punch. He doesn't resort to just the spear. He brings back the Niagara driver that he did to AJ Styles a few years ago. He does, random... He does suplexes. He does powerhouse moves. He does a power bomb. Let him do that. Let him become a brawler. Let him become a powerhouse guy. Let him become something the fans want to see and the fans will cheer behind. Don't continue to make him one of these guys who just ends up being the next John Cena. We already have one John Cena That is enough. We could have the one and only Roman Reigns, but so many times people are so unhappy with him. Because just when you think you finally got him in that spot where he's going to be the guy, you find a way to mess it up. If I was booking Raw, I would have had Lashley and Roman battle to a double draw. Have it be, a double count out, have it be a double DQ, have it be something like that. And then you can have the rematch against them next week where Brock Lesnar would be there and have Brock just take them both out. And then be like, okay, hey, let's have a triple threat match between Roman Reigns, Bobby Lashley, and Brock Lesnar. Hey, yeah, you're getting your Roman Reigns versus Brock Lesnar deal, but now you got a third element. Now you got Lashley in there where people are just admiring. They are loving him. They love his in-ring work. They love his mic skills. They are loving him because he's starting to turn it into the Bobby Lashley he was in Impact Wrestling, in TNA. He's starting to become really good, and he's starting to really get fans behind him. That's what you need. Don't do the same thing, because obviously that system, that technique, that recipe is broken. It's ruined. It's not working. You have to change something. What I do hope happens at SummerSlam is that I want to see not Brock Lesnar just, dominate Roman. No. What I want to see Roman Reigns beat the ever-living hell out of Brock Lesnar. Let him show a ruthless side that nobody would ever suspect from him. He beats down Brock. He does his Superman punches. He does his spear, but he doesn't go for the pin. He power bombs Brock Lesnar through not one, not two, but three. All three of those announce tables at ringside. Have him spear Brock Lesnar all four corners of the barricades. Have him do that. Have him bust open Brock Lesnar. Have him just completely batter Brock Lesnar. And then have Roman finish him. Because that will accomplish two things. That'll make Roman Reigns the badass that people want to see him become. And that will also have Brock Lesnar leave, and everybody will get that satisfaction of knowing that Brock Lesnar got his ass kicked on probably his final match in WWE. I don't know that to be fully certain, but if he's talking about going to UFC, that's fine. Then let him go. But let his final matchup be the most physical beatdown. Show everybody that he can be beaten. I get it. He's an attraction. But that attraction deal has worn off. Give him something that fans will remember him by. And maybe you'd have to pay him a little bit more money to have him get beat down by Roman Reigns. Pay him. Just give him the money and let him go. Let him go to UFC. Focus on your talent that you have here. That was a lot. That was a lot to take in. So the final approval rating for me, the score of 11 out of 18, a 61% approval rating for Monday Night Raw. It was a rough one. There were some good things about it. They were hammering the whole fact about WWE Evolution and the whole, this is the women's first, this is the women's first ever event. They tried their hardest to just drill it in our heads, and it got annoying. Move on to Smackdown, where thankfully things get better. We kicked off Smackdown with Randy Orton. He came out and he talked about why he beat down Jeff Hardy. And it was really one of those moments where it was beautiful. One of the few Randy Orton promos that I absolutely loved. He basically talks about how Jeff Hardy is getting popular because he's taking risks, because he's doing all these crazy things in the ring, because he, breaks out the face paint. He has the armbands. He has these baggy clothes. And he's talking about how he's gotten no respect. And why? Because he doesn't dress up like people would want him to, or he even calls out the whole too sweet deal. He mentions, because I don't do a finger gesture from the independent scene, he does the too sweet deal. It was absolutely amazing. And he basically blames the fans. It was kind of like what Tommaso Ciampa was doing, where he basically took the reality and made it into something. He basically talked about how the fans are the reason why he did it. He wants to be the guy who destroys their favorites, such as Jeff Hardy, and that he is going to do that. I even loved this. He even mentions the idea that he's not the legend killer, but the fans are. That was really cool. I absolutely loved it. This Randy Orton is the Randy Orton that needs to just, fade off into the sunset. I know Randy Orton is slowly getting to that point where he is going to have to start thinking of other options. But if he continues to be this Randy Orton, that's a great way to end your career. You can have a great, send-off promo, but have him continue just to be Randy Orton, as you know him, to be the Dick. It works. It's absolutely amazing. And I just say, keep going with this Randy Orton. This would transition into our first matchup, which would be Rusev versus Andrade Cien Almas with Zelina Vega and Lana at ringside. Very little interaction, very little deals with Lana and Zelina Vega. It was more all about the in-ring action. And honestly, Rusev and Almas really put on a good matchup here. It was back and forth for a little while, but they definitely made those moments count. I remember Almas going for the double knees to the corner where Rusev's sitting on the bottom turnbuckle. And then Rusev, he's gotten up, boom, hits a roundhouse kick to the side of the head. And just seeing Almas do all these great things. It was a great matchup. And then we see Lana and Zelina Vega. They get into it. Aiden English gets involved, pulls Lana off. They have a little bit of a yelling cunt deal there. And then we see Zelina Vega just jump on Aiden English. Aiden English falls forward and hits Lana by accident. Rusev is distracted by this, gets hit with the hammerlock DDT for the 1-2-3. Almas picks up the victory. Definitely a thumbs up deal. This was followed, of course, by a backstage segment in which Aiden English and Lana are basically just yelling at each other, saying like, oh, well, you cost Rusev the match. Well, you did this, and blah, 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 blah. And then Rusev just says, enough. Maybe neither one of you is good for Rusev Day. That was a stone cold deal. That was a really good line by Rusev. It's one of those things where it makes logical sense where he's going to have to now choose between Aiden English and Lana, or just say, I'm dropping you both because you both cost me the matchup. It's just so very well done. Another thumbs up deal. I loved it. I'm looking forward to seeing where this storyline is going. This is what really makes SmackDown worthwhile, because you're seeing these great storylines that just continue to elevate, and there's some predictability to it, but at the same time, you don't know what's going to happen. Is Rusev going to turn Aiden English? Is Aiden English going to turn on Rusev? Is Lana maybe even going to turn on Rusev? You don't know. We're going to find out later on. But it's great to see. Then we get R-Truth versus Samoa Joe. I personally, from a nostalgic fan point of view, loved this because it's basically the start of the progression of a bunch of TNA matches on SmackDown Live, on WWE programming. And this is one of the first that I've seen. R-Truth came out with a very familiar song of What's Up, What's Up, but he changes the lyrics up. And it was great. it's one of those things where I listen to these lyrics and I think, he gets it. He understands that, hey, yes, I can keep the same song, but I just need to change the words up. And it's still going to be one of those things where fans are going to get behind me. Honestly, they got behind him. There were still fans that were cheering for him. They were cheering, what's up, what's up? And of course, this would bring on Samoa Joe. And R-Truth, oh my God, R-Truth looked great in this match. It was one of those things where you see him doing his split deal. You saw him do like a bit of a splash. And one of the things I liked about it was that he overdid it. It looks like he overdid it. It made me think like it's that much more impactful on Samoa Joe. It was a great deal. And then we see him hit the lie detector on Samoa Joe. He goes for the axe kick. But in the end, we see Samoa Joe lock in the coquina clutch, and R-Truth taps out. He doesn't pass out. He taps out. So it's nice to see that we don't have to just deal with, random passing out of submissions. I wish we could have gotten more of this matchup, though. It was very short. That's the only issue that I had with it. So I ultimately had to give this a thumbs down. Then we go into a promo with Asuka where she's just screaming about, how the WWE Evolution event's going to be great, and then Billie Kay is not ready for Asuka. I just love the energy of Asuka. That's just really something I enjoy. So we get Asuka versus Billie Kay. Another really short matchup. And it sucks because Billie Kay and Asuka could have done a lot more. Ultimately, thumbs down. Asuka would pick up the victory. I believe it was after the Asuka lock, if I'm not mistaken. And no, I think it was by pinfall, if I'm not mistaken. I think it was like a major roundhouse kick, and that was it. But yeah, ultimately, I wish they could have gone more with this match. I can understand why, though. All right, we go into then the segment in which Paige has a contract in the ring. And then she brings out AJ Styles, and she's about to announce who the opponent is going to be for AJ Styles' WWE Championship at SummerSlam. This would bring out James Ellsworth, who talks about how, I've beaten AJ Styles 3 times, and the 4th time is a charm. And there's a little bit of a comedy deal, which AJ Styles and Ellsworth play off each other pretty well. Paige gets involved, and she's trying to get Ellsworth out, and then Ellsworth makes the huge mistake of insulting Paige's attire as well as her looks. And one of the funniest things about this is when Paige just says, we don't make fun of people by their appearance here. Like she's trying to do like this anti-bullying campaign. And then Ellsworth did come up with like the better response of, yeah, we do. Duh. It's one of those things where it's like, it's obvious. You guys do bully each other. There's no denying it. But then Paige would say to James Ellsworth the 2 most beautiful words that come out of her mouth. Oh, it's like music. It's almost like an angelic just band just playing in my ear when I heard these words. You're fired. James Ellsworth gets fired. He then realizes that, oh crap, she's my boss. She can do that. He's just just on his hand, he's on his knees begging to Paige about that. Security's dragging him out. He's just kicking, screaming. It's almost like Chris Jericho back in 2005, where he's getting taken out by security. He's just shanking. The only difference here is that he's not screaming, "Mr. Bischoff, Mr. Bischoff, Mr. Bischoff, Mr. Bischoff," that kind of deal. It's just James Ellsworth almost like, "No, you can't fire me. You can't fire me. No." And then one of the best deals, Paige tells security to just put him down by an exit door, and then Paige just boots him out of the arena. That was awesome. Then we cut back to the ring. AJ's just watching everything on the monitor, but does not see Samoa Joe get in the ring and just assault AJ and then choke him out. He grabs the contract, signs it, making it official. We're getting AJ Styles versus Samoa Joe at SummerSlam, folks. This is going to be a matchup that I literally could see what Nakamura and Styles should have been at the very beginning. But these two are just going to work each other so well. It's going to be an absolutely amazing matchup. In all honesty, this could be match of the night. Actually, it could even be a match of the year contender. We're going to find out. I also loved where Samoa Joe heads to the backstage area. Paige is just basically saying, like, no, I wanted you to do it, the traditional way. I want you to do it, the simple way of you coming out when I announce you. And Samoa Joe says, you want unpredictability. You want something unique. You want something different. Me coming out after you announce me, that is just, he's basically just saying, that's stupid. That's stupid. I gave you unpredictable. I gave you something that these fans will definitely remember it by, and there's more to come. So it was one of those things where it's like, I get Paige had good intentions, but Samoa Joe's right. It's what he does. He's just unpredictable. It makes sense for him. Then we go into Becky Lynch versus Carmella in a pretty good matchup. It was one of those matches that I think is one of the better matches, if not the best match that Carmella has done. I know that she screamed like a total of 3 times at the very end because she was trying so hard to, cheat to win, and she does her kick to the face of Becky. She's doing everything, and in the end, we would see Becky Lynch lock in the disarm her and make Carmella tap out. Becky Lynch, therefore, receives a SmackDown Live Women's Championship match at SummerSlam. Well-deserved, well-earned. I am hoping that we do see a new champion at SummerSlam. I'm hoping that Becky Lynch wins. And in all honesty, I wish they would have booked this differently, because I would have much rather seen Becky Lynch win the SmackDown Live Women's Champion, SmackDown Live, not the SmackDown Live, the Money in the Bank briefcase. There we go. Win the Money in the Bank briefcase at Money in the Bank. And what could really happen with, Alexa Bliss? Well, she gets involved in the match with Nia and with Ronda. Then we could have a triple threat match at Extreme Rules, in which Alexa Bliss would win the title. And then we would get Alexa Bliss versus Ronda at SummerSlam. That would have been a better way of booking it, because what we got was just meh. So what I would have done was I would have had, Becky Lynch still continue a winning streak, and then maybe on an episode of SmackDown after Extreme Rules, she says that I'm cashing in my SmackDown, my Money in the Bank contract to fight you for the championship at SummerSlam. Because it would be the second time that we would see somebody basically saying, hey, I'm going to give you a warning. This is what's going to happen. You're going to defend your title at this event. And honestly, it would have been one of those things that just, oh my gosh, I love the idea of it, where Becky Lynch, she still carries the briefcase, but it's just one of those things where she deserves it, and she deserves to be the SmackDown Live Women's Champion. Where Charlotte is absent, Becky Lynch has definitely taken the bull by the horns, and she has just rode this very well. It's just great. I absolutely love it. We got a little short Bludgeon Brothers promo. I give this a thumbs up just because of the fact that, basically they're just saying, it doesn't matter who wins. They're just going to get a bludgeon beating. That was it. It was short, sweet, and to the point. So that's why it gets a thumbs up. And that's what the Bludgeon Brothers need to be. They need to just be short, sweet, and remain silent for the rest of it. Or maybe even get a new manager. I'm sorry, but that would just be better. We get the first round of a tag team tournament, where the winners of the tournament will face the Bludgeon Brothers at SummerSlam. We had a first round match here, which had the New Day taking on Sanity. It was a good matchup. It definitely was another good matchup, but just like with Lashley and Roman, I had to give it a thumbs down, because honestly, they gave the win to New Day. I get it. They are definitely very profitable. They are really good at marketing breakfast. I'm just saying breakfast as a whole, because they've done cereal, they've done flapjacks. I'm surprised that they haven't gone to something different, like, OJ. I'm also surprised that they haven't done bacon, but it is what it is. Again, it's just the predictability factor of the New Day winning. So more than likely, we might get Usos versus the New Day in the finals, or we might get the New Day versus the Bar as the finals, which I would rather prefer because honestly, I do want to see the Bar versus the Bludgeon Brothers at SummerSlam. But I will say this, I'm not sure that the Bar would win. I think that they would have the Bludgeon Brothers still win. Maybe they're going to try and have the Bludgeon Brothers break the record for New Day. But I don't know. I really just don't know. I just did not like it. Alright, so during the show, we got a lot of backstage deals between Maurice, Miz, and their baby, quote unquote. So Miz comes out with Maurice, and they do this celebratory deal where they're talking about, it's the pre-show party to the eventual debut of their show, Miz and Mrs., that would air immediately after SmackDown, which, trust me, I am going to get into. So they definitely talk about that, but they also do a deal in which Miz takes another shot at Daniel Bryan and even states that, the baby's asleep because the name Daniel Bryan just puts her to sleep. Then they decide, okay, we're going to do a promo deal. This is just a sneak peek of what you can expect from Miz and Mrs. Yeah, it was for the other show, the blooper reel, known as Miz and Mrs. Not Mrs. as in his wife. Mrs. as in there's a miss. So we see a lot of deals where they have those weird interactions backstage, and deals where Miz just got his ass whooped by so many people, and then we cut back to the ring, in which we see Miz and Maurice are just wait, what? I don't think this was supposed to happen. Daniel Bryan is just wait, that was not the footage I really wanted to see. And so many times they really find a reason to just continue to bring up some of the guys in the back. It's absolutely amazing. But Daniel Bryan would say I should apologize to you. I'm going to apologize to you to your face. So he comes out, and Daniel Bryan, it looks like he's going to finally get his hands on the Miz, but then the Miz throws the baby, which turns out to be a doll, and then Miz hits a boot, skull-crushing finale on Daniel Bryan, and he says, look at this. You actually thought I would throw my daughter there? No, it's a doll. You people thought I would bring him out for that? No way. And he also made a reference that the baby that they had backstage was a child actor. That was one of those things that really got a chuckle out of me. It's okay, so instead of bringing your daughter to the show for free, you paid to take somebody else's child. Yeah, that's... I can see how out of context that would sound really bad, but it's just one of those things where it was just really, really bizarre to see that. But it's one of those things where it's at least they didn't, boot it into the crowd like Gene Snitsky did in 2004. That was a weird moment. But yeah, all in all, it was a good segment. I gave it a thumbs up. It was really good. So, final scoring, 9 to 12. 9 out of 12. Emotions, I guess we'll call it. The approval rating was a final tally of 75%. So obviously SmackDown Live wins this week as far as, being the more entertaining show, as being the more just wonderfully done deal. Raw just definitely needs to stay out of the norm because it is not helping them out at all. So, what were my genuine thoughts about Miz and Mrs.? Honestly, for the first episode, it was pretty good, actually. They did a little bit of a background deal in which they talked about, how they kind of met, how they, got married and everything that's going on. I do love the interaction between Miz and his mother-in-law. It's just, it's one of those things where you just kind of look at it. It's kind of like one of those comedic deals where the mother doesn't really hate her son-in-law, but it's one of those things where she does try to just make his life almost like a living hell as much as she can. It's absolutely amazing. We get a deal in which we see Miz and where Miz and Maurice are going to like a photo shoot, and then there's a little bit of confusion. In the end, we see Miz getting completely naked, and this is where it gets to be funny. So during this deal, Miz basically is now being told, okay, well, I thought you said nude photo shoot, and then they just continue going into it. Then it gets funny, because the Miz basically just says, I know that the average penis size is about 3 to 7 inches. So basically he's telling the person who's doing the censorship deal to just to basically just make that bigger and bigger and bigger until finally he's just like, thank you. So it's just absolutely funny. Then it kind of ended with them being on Raw, talking about Raw 1000, and we see Maurice kind of go through like small contractions, not like anything major. It was just one of those things where it's like I don't know, like a pre-contractions. They mentioned that she was going to be like 20 days, like 20 days away from her due date. So when Renee hears this, oh, by the way, she was hanging out with Renee, and they were doing this on a live video deal. Like I said, so Renee tells Titus O'Neil. Titus O'Neil goes find The Miz, and The Miz runs thinking that it's going to be major contractions. At least that's what Titus O'Neil really made it out to be. And in the end, it's one of the funniest ways to end it, in which Miz is just saying, like, so I'm literally at work, basically freaking out that my wife is having these pre-labor contractions, and she is literally in catering, just sitting down, and she's just sitting down and eating a cookie. And Maurice just follows it up with a line of, it was a really good cookie. And that's kind of how the first episode ended. So, as far as like reality shows, this is definitely better than Total Divas and Total Bellas, where they're just so fully focused on all the drama, and they're focused on a lot of the weird stuff that goes around, and they make up a lot of these storylines, which is just really weird. But with Miz and Mrs., it's one of those things where I watch it and I find more ways to enjoy it, because it has that comedy edge. It has kind of like the realism to it, but it also tries to, make it seem like, hey, we're having fun with this. We're having fun with this. It's really cool to see that. I am actually okay with that. So I'm definitely going to be watching more of The Miz and Mrs. as time goes on. It's going to be a pretty good show, so definitely go check it out if you haven't yet. Alright, so with that, the only other major thing that I could think of as far as this week for wrestling, as far as I know, is that Tommaso Ciampa won the NXT Championship from the former champion Aleister Black, and now we are going to find out that there is going to be and this is a major spoiler for NXT TakeOver Brooklyn 3? Yes. That we're going to see a triple threat match between... No, actually, I think it's going to be Brooklyn 4 now that I think about it. I can't remember now. But yeah, it's going to be a triple threat match for the NXT Championship, in which we're going to see Tommaso Ciampa defend against Aleister Black and Johnny Gargano. So a lot of people were really hoping that it was going to be, like a cage match or Hell in a Cell, or that was going to be the way to end this feud. But I am liking what they're doing here. They're definitely incorporating new people into the feud, so that way it not only kind of elevates their feud a bit, but it also makes everything fresh. It makes it very interesting. It makes it something that's not going to be completely boring. So it's going to be interesting to see what else they can concoct as far as NXT TakeOver Brooklyn is concerned. But it's going to be an absolutely can't miss event. So with that being said, guys, I have been Nate the Effing Great. This has been This Week in Wrestling. You know where to find me. You know how to talk to me. You know how to reach me. Definitely tune in next week, because it's going to be the start of GC Summer Bash, and you may even hear another voice involved in this. I'm actually going to have more people coming on to talk about professional wrestling with me, so definitely tune in to that. So, with that being said, I have been Nate the Effing Great. This has been the Game Changer, and guys, just remember that WWE stands for Walk With Elias. Go check that out on Spotify, on iTunes, any way that you can get music. Go check out his album. It is absolutely can't miss. Talk to you later, guys.
Hey, 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 hey. Hey, 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 hey. Hey, 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 hey. Hey, hey, hey. I'm in a world of madness. I'm trying to escape. I think to myself every night, what's it gonna take? I got sharks swimming in my sea. I got alligators at my feet. There's only one option, that's to walk with me. 'Cause you don't know where you're going, but I know where you're gonna be. You're lost in this crazy world, searching for your destiny. When all is lost and there's nothing left, there's a man you need to see. Can you feel that? That's walking with me. And I said, hey, hey, hey. Hey, hey, hey. Hey, hey, hey. Hey, hey, hey. Don't look back, just trust me. That's only gonna hurt. There are those who can't be saved. They'll live life in the dirt. You felt this in your soul for as long as you can believe. Everybody's walking now, so walk with me. And I said, hey, 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 hey. Hey, hey, hey. Hey, hey, hey. Hey, hey, hey. Millions across the globe, they can't all be wrong. People ask me what it means, so I had to write the song. And once you feel it, you'll know it's real. That's how life goes. Now turn the lights down low, it's time for my show. And I said, hey, 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 hey. Hello, I am Elias.